I learned everything about everything. I learned how to write a book as I did it. I learned how to use social media just by using it and doing it. Self-awareness. And that is really, really hard. And it is the hardest work you'll ever do.
Is there anything in your past that kind of has created this future that you have now?
Where's that?
I'm in a different spot this
I
time.
know, right? Trading it up. Let's see, I have to send one more text and then I'll be ready. Sorry, guys. I almost got done with returning everything.
It's all this work. I guess you got to work a lot when you get 25 pending, huh?
I mean, it is pretty
Humble
fun.
brag there, Les.
It is fun.
So much work to do.
I mean, so
I'm just so successful in real estate.
back in the day, whenever I first got into coaching, I told them exactly what I wanted. I was like, I want to be able to produce a quality experience for the client. I want to have like 15 to 20 deals a month under contract. I just
Point of reference, how far back was back in the day?
that was in 2016. That's when I first got involved with coaching.
So not-
Not that far, I guess. And so they put me up with a guy that was doing that, and he wasn't working very hard. And no,
that's the dream, right?
This is what I
this
want.
looks easy.
Yeah. So I learned the processes and systems and what we need to do. And slowly I started to go up in the number, and then I needed an assistant. So I got a coach that would help me find an assistant. And then I've just kind of like gone from like coach to coach based on what I was needing at the time. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool now, years down the road, to look back and be like, I remember what it was like, when I was first licensed to have 2 deals under contract in 1 month. I was, freaking out like, okay, I have to do this in this many days. I have to do this in this many days. How can I, but over time, your capacity just starts to get better and increase. So it's been a long time since I've had 2 or 3 months in a row of more than 20 deals under contract, because I went from having a team to a brokerage. Now I'm back to a team. So whenever you have a brokerage, like the agents are handling that stuff. I don't have to.
You had a
handle that stuff.
brokerage?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Pixel
All
Properties.
right, my next guest is going to be Ray Ellen.
Ray
Tell us
started-
about your life.
Ray started Keller Williams, and then he sold it to Gary.
Yeah.
That's how
My
that
first name's
started.
William, actually. That's how that started. Most
That's
people don't
right.
know. Yeah.
That's right. Your first name is
Yeah, it was me and Gary.
Sold that thing off. Once they built that, they didn't want to do it.
Yeah, we just, I sold out.
He's done.
So
okay
and then
with it.
and then my goal is just to live an impoverished life somewhere in Arkansas, so that people don't know that I have that much money to start a.
We call
start
it
a
witness relocation.
So Arkansas is so amazing that I forgot that I've been to Arkansas.
That's so bad.
So a few years back, I would say this is back maybe like 7 years, maybe it may have been almost 10 years ago. We did this cross country road trip from Florida to North Carolina and then down to Texas. And so we apparently passed Arkansas along the way. And we passed through state. But we stayed at like a campground there on a river, and I saw this in my Facebook memories the other day, and I was like, "Oh, Arkansas is beautiful. Who knew?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, forgot about that."
I don't think
That's
I've ever
hilarious.
been.
It is. So the first thing that people say whenever they get here is, "Wow, there are so many trees." Yeah, because we're known as the natural state, and people always think that where they are is like very natural and filled of nature, but they are
Washington.
Well, I'm serious. You're gonna get here and you're gonna go like, "Oh,
I've
that
been
is
there.
So many trees." So, speaking of standing out from the crowd, our next guest will help you do that. That was pretty good.
It was.
That was a good segue. Hopefully they're here. No, I see them. It says mystery guest, but I
mystery
text her to
guest.
make sure they're ready.
Her? Is it no longer a them?
It's a
It is. So it is a her. She is
Yay.
a speaker. She's an author. She's a real estate agent. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting you guys thinking. You might think her favorite color is yellow.
Okay.
I did anyway.
Can I buy Val?
I like seeing your faces as I'm introducing, because you're like, who is this person?
Yeah.
She's written 2 books. She has a podcast. I feel like she has more than one podcast,
Is it
or maybe
Karen?
that's because I
Karen Carr?
see her everywhere. Nope.
Oh.
I met her in Washington.
You've been to Washington?
Rebecca's like, what? Yeah, Spokane. I spoke in Spokane alongside of her. Her favorite thing to do is to taste wine in Napa. She's also a mom. So please welcome to Real Random, Chelsea. Yay!
Yay!
Wait,
Oh, that's who I thought
I
it
was
was.
going to say Chelsea, but I didn't know Chelsea was a realtor.
I didn't
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, I used to be. I was for a long time before social media existed. So no longer an active realtor. I let my license go finally because I was like, forget about those CE credits. I don't want to do it.
See, that was what when I made that
She
face.
put BF in the in her bio before Facebook. That's
That was why I made the face. I was thinking Chelsea when you said, the 2 books, because I was like, I was there when she was proofing the first one. But then you said realtor, and I was like, oh wait, that's why I said Karen Carr.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
one step at a time. And I can confirm that Arkansas is very tree forward.
That's a good way to say it.
Straightforward.
Okay, hang on. I'm
Nice.
gonna take a pause for a second. Will you go and click that little settings thing and make sure that your microphone is selected? I think I'm hearing your laptop mic. I just want to make sure we're getting the best quality out of you.
Let's make sure. That was my fault.
Oh,
I should
yeah.
have made sure.
No worries.
It's okay. I did that on the last one. So
Okay. It should be fixed now.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
now
gorgeous.
she's here.
Well, so Chelsea and I met. I think it was the first time that we even knew each other existed. To be honest, right? I mean, we didn't really.
I knew about you. I don't think you knew about me, but I knew about you.
Oh, really? I didn't know
And
that.
I also knew that you were a broker owner of Pixel Properties. I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
hello, it's Pixel Properties. How
That's
did
right.
you not know that?
How could you not know?
Did I tell
Golly.
you I'm very good at trivia as well? So you do help me on your
Really?
team.
That's so good. Okay, so she was doing a talk on basically we were talking about media, social media, and that kind of stuff. I get to speak at the YPN of Spokane, and so it was really cool. It was like we hung out afterwards at the bar. And you know how you meet people and you just kind of instantly click with them? It's like, oh, it's like we've been friends for 20 years. I told her yesterday on the phone, like, I feel like I've known you for 20 years.
That's Chelsea's like secret power, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's everybody who leaves talking with Chelsea is like, oh my God, we're like best friends.
oh,
That's so true. But she didn't even promote the book at me when I was with her in person either. So someone else told me like later, like, oh yeah, she wrote a book. I'm like, what? So I bought the book. Exactly what to post.
That's the problem, is that people keep telling me I need to market better. And I'm terrible at that. I'm horrible at marketing my courses and my books. Like I know. I'm like, oh, that's right. Why can't I just like give it all away? Right? I don't know. So
You must be doing
I
something
know.
right, because I'm on the wait list for your next course, the one that you do with Giselle. Like I'm on the wait list. I got waitlisted.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should have put in a call, Rick.
he's like, can you push me above this wait list, please? Put me to the top.
Yeah, so
Okay.
in spite of my many efforts to not market myself, it's somehow gotten out there.
Well, so tell me, let's start at the beginning of your real estate career, because you said BF, you were a real estate agent. Did you get involved in real estate thinking it would be a regular old real estate career for you, or did you always know this was going to be something different for you?
No, I never ever thought about getting into real estate. My origin story about real estate is kind of interesting. So prior to that, I was in the world of gyms, fitness centers. I worked for a very large corporation that was kind of like, I guess what would be popular now, maybe like a Lifetime Fitness or something like that. It was like a really big chain. And I was doing the accounting and the admin, and then I was a personal trainer. So I was in that world for a long while, and I had been working for a person who I had really considered to be a mentor when I was just about getting out of college, because there was a big gym right next to, like right across from Arizona State. And so it was very close to it. And I started working there, and I was a personal trainer. And then I started noticing things, and I said, hey, do you think I could work on this? I think I can help you make this better. Anyway, we started working on the business of fitness. Well, that ended up closing down. And I said, I'm really worried. I don't know what to do next. And that person ended up getting me a job at this really big company. So I met this really awesome person at that new company. His name is Brian. And I, ended
I
up
think you still know this
marrying
guy.
him.
Oh.
Yeah, the BP. And, we were young, we were in our early 20s, you remember those times. And so my mentor came back a little while later and said, hey, I've got this opportunity and I think you'd be perfect for it. Would you be willing to move and go to Oregon and help me turn these bankrupt fitness companies profitable? And I said, of course I would. That sounds amazing. And I had no idea what I was doing, right? And that was the beauty of it. And, he said, I really need to create a team. Do you know anybody who's really good at sales? I'm like, actually, I do.
There's this
And
guy.
so I said, there's this guy named Brian. And so we went up there. We had a team of 4 people, and it was just so fun. We learned on the job all the things, and we did it. We really did turn these companies around. And one day as I was doing the books, because I was doing the accounting, I noticed that something was off and I couldn't figure out what it was. I rabbit holed down this whole pathway. And what happened is my mentor had actually stolen all of our annual full year's worth of salaries for all 4 of us, and had also taken all 4 of our years worth of mortgage payment.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, that
So
was
you
like
knew you were going under before you were going under.
that was a betrayal, right? I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what? And so we called him on it, and he admitted it.
Wait.
And said,
You
"You're
just
right."
can't say we called him on it. Like, how do you set up that meeting?
So I remember it was an old-fashioned phone call, and people were standing around it because we didn't have Zoom back then, and he was in a different state. And we were in there, and I don't remember the details, but it was something along the lines of, we've noticed that something isn't adding up, or the numbers are off, or where is this money? And he admitted it. He said, well, I've fallen on some hard times, and I took all the money. Okay, so I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what happened after that, but I do remember we went home and we literally opened up our front door and we just sold everything we owned. We didn't know anybody. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any rent money. And we sold everything that we owned, including like my KitchenAid mixer I sold for $50, which anyone who has a KitchenAid mixer is just like, oh, what? And so we packed up the cars and we went home, and I moved in with my now mother-in-law. The 3 of us lived in this little 1,000-square-foot house, and my husband said, you know what, my family's in real estate. And I said, you know what, I'll go get my license too. I mean, I got nothing better to do right now. So I never intended to go into real estate. He was going to get his license and go into real estate, and I was just tagging along because, we were like in the super new phase of our relationship, and I was like, oh, but I'll be without you all day. I'll go with you. And so I went and got licensed, and both he and I got jobs right away in new home sales. And that was in the early 2000s, which was a wild time. I mean, you could write 13 contracts in a day.
Yeah, easy peasy.
And
you had all kinds of lender benefits and all kinds of stuff was happening.
Oh, we had all kinds of things, especially in the state of Arizona, which is still considered a little bit of the, the state that has a lot of, oh, we don't really have those laws here. Oh, you have that law in California. So it was, yeah, it was very interesting.
Is it lawless? Are you saying it's lawless?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I got into real estate.
Wow. So you were new home sales, and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to write books and help real estate agents with their marketing. That seems like a jump. That seems like a big jump.
That was a little bit of a jump. Yeah. So, yes, no, I went from new homes into residential resale, and I had a great first year. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't know how to market myself. I was just really good with people, and I loved the buyers. Loved the buyers. Like this was back in the day where the buyers were in your car for 8 hours a day.
Oh man!
You picked them up and had coffee.
We're all
then
like,
you drove
no.
to like 100 houses, and then you had lunch, and I loved it. Like it was it for me, and I still would like to do that. Like that would.
I don't even want you to follow me anymore. I'm.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, I will meet you guys at the next house, and I try to start going so they can't, like, they just need to use the
Yeah,
map because I want
no.
to see, I want
So
them to see how I drive.
I enjoyed the really getting to know them. And, you know, I didn't think about it at the time, but there is an art form to getting a perfect stranger to trust you and get in your car and like you. And so I never really thought about that until just right now. But yeah, so that was what I did. And then in 2008, which a lot of people listening
Yeah.
might remember that year,
Mhm.
So
I
Rick, when were you licensed?
I was 2010.
oh,
Becca,
perfect. That's a pretty good year too.
Oh yeah, it was great. Everyone was like, "Why are you getting into real estate? It's not a good time." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
great."
So
Becca, when
2008.
did you get into it?
2014. So
2014.
it was
Okay.
Oh,
like
you were
starting to
beyond that.
come back up at that point.
So
Yeah.
I had just got my license in January of 07.
Oh,
Perfect.
Yeah. I had an amazing 4 or 5 months.
Mm.
And then I went through exactly what
Bye.
Chelsea's about to describe.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
and this is why I didn't become a therapist. So I was actually going to become a therapist, but I'm highly empathic, highly emotional, and very
Also explains
sensitive
why
to
you
other
like working
people.
with buyers so much, because that's such a, like, that is
Basically
like,
got to be a therapist.
Therapy.
Yes.
yeah.
And so I didn't become a therapist because I was very concerned that I would cry all the time with my clients. And I'm like, that's probably not good energetically for me. It's probably not good for them to see their therapist crying.
Yeah.
If your
So I didn't
therapist
do
cries, then
that.
it must be really bad.
Right.
There's probably something in the ethics about not
crying
doing
with
that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought that's not for me. And what was happening is I remember people, and I was one of those people as well, were just devastated, sitting in their kitchen and we don't know what to do. Like, we
Mm.
want to live here. We have a family, we have children, like, we don't want to lose our house and we want to pay our bills. And like, what's happening? Can you help us? And literally could do nothing.
Yeah.
And it was gut wrenching. So I didn't like that.
No, it's not fun.
So I decided to stay in the industry that I knew. And so I went into the title and escrow world, but in a marketing capacity. And my job was to help real estate agents learn how to generate business through marketing and social media, which was something nobody was talking about. And so that's
working
why
with
I
a
ended
title
up there.
company to do that. That's smart.
Right,
Well,
exactly.
Because earlier you said you didn't know how to market yourself, and then you worked with buyers, and now you're
Mhm.
going into a marketing capacity. Was there anything in there where you learned how to market, or were you just making this
No,
up as you
I
went
learned
along?
everything about everything. I learned how to write a book as I did it. I learned how to use social media just by
Love
using it and doing it. Like, I truly am one of those, is it Gen X that, or maybe it's like the younger millennials, where it's just like there's no fear of not doing anything for the first time because you can find it. You can find it on YouTube. You can
Mhm.
learn it. If you want to learn it, you can do it. And so I just had the mindset that if I want to learn it, I can do it. And so that's what I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And you had a career in real estate as an agent that's longer than most real estate agents' careers in real estate. So it's not like you're a slouch in real estate.
No, I had a great career in real
Yeah.
estate. And I really enjoyed it. I was pretty much all by referral, which was a huge compliment. And I worked with a lot of relocation, a lot of families
Oh,
that were
interesting.
coming through corporate relocation. And so I worked primarily by referral with buyers, and a lot of them were coming from corporate relocation.
Still, I mean, even going from, okay, you went to the title to help them, and then you started to market agents and stuff like that. There was a point where you outgrew your title position, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
And then you just, like, they let you fly.
Yeah. I would say ish, yes. I think sometimes when you have a very large corporation, you know, change is hard for anyone, let alone an entity. And you add on a layer of a topic that is not common in the early days. It would kind of be like Bitcoin or maybe even AI, you know, now where people are kind of like, it's kind of new. I don't really know. And so there's always going to be a little bit of a hesitancy in some cases, you know, depending on what. It wasn't a marketing company. So maybe if it were a marketing company, it would have been, oh yeah, social media, we'll do that. So I beta tested it, worked, and then I got the green light. And then from there, I created a national position. at the company, and now they are my largest client. And not only the title and escrow companies, but all of the companies that have to do with real estate technology underneath them as well. So I work with tens of thousands of their employees. And so it
Wow.
went from, I don't know about this social media thing to, yeah, we believe in you, right? Like this, you did it. So they're really great to work with, and I've had a great relationship with them. And I think kind of the best segue that you could imagine going from being an employee to being an entrepreneur is having your former employer become your client. That's pretty amazing.
That's a far cry from usually. I mean, usually what happens in these situations, for those of you who don't know, is that someone starts pointing at contracts and saying, "I don't know if we're paying you this right now. We want you to do that same work that you're talking about doing, but at this rate, and everything you've developed so far is our property." That's the big one that catches a lot of people. So read your contracts, folks.
Yes, read your contracts always.
Well, I know I'm hogging all the questions. I just got one more, and I'll let Rick and Rebecca ask some. But when you got to this place to do the real estate and all this other stuff, is there anything in your past that kind of has created this future that you have now?
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
can point to and say, okay, this is what made me who I am. This is what I experienced. This is what made me Chelsea.
So the biggest number one thing that I can say for me is my success turning point, pivot, whatever you want to call it, is self-awareness. And that is really, really hard. I'm actually working with a group right now, which is a very big self-awareness journey in order to get clarity around your brand messaging. And it is the hardest work you'll ever do, because you really have to look at yourself, and you have to know what your strengths are and what you're passionate about. And all of that seems like it would be simple on the surface, but it's really very challenging, and it's very messy. And this quote is not mine. It's from Rory Vaden, who I highly respect. And he's a brand strategist expert. And he said, "You are uniquely positioned to help the person you once were." And so I think about that often.
Hang on. Let that just kind of simmer.
Yeah.
You are uniquely positioned to help the person you once were.
And so that's a theme that you'll hear him talk about. And I actually heard that. Here's the funny thing. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Ed Milet. And I was introduced to him about a year ago. And I have to say, I've seen a lot of speakers. He is the best speaker I've ever seen in my life. And I saw him a second time recently and thought, well, I've seen this before. Still cried. Still was moved. Still was like, this is literally the best speaker I've ever been to in my life.
That's huge coming from you, because you've seen some big ones.
Oh, I've seen some big ones, and he is truly number one. And he actually said it on stage: "You're uniquely positioned to help the person you once were," and that stuck with me. And then when I started really listening and following Rory Vaden, Ed Milet is Rory Vaden's client, and I heard a podcast where Rory said that, and Ed was like, "Oh, yes, that's such an aha moment." So it's funny how that came full circle. But yeah, so I just thought, well, that if that isn't the truth, right? But you've got to be self-aware about who you once were and who you are now. And I once was a highly, highly insecure, anxiety-ridden, people pleaser, wanting to make sure that everybody liked me kind of person. And it was only made worse by, I have a mental illness. I have since I was 6, and I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and it was undiagnosed medically until I was in my 40s. And I did not have parents that sent me to a therapist. I did not have anyone that helped me get on medication. So it was a long number of decades with that, and feeling like there was something wrong with me, that I would never be successful, that this would be the one thing that would keep me from being happy or successful, or all of those things. And when I say that I have OCD, I say that it's literally every day. It never goes away, and it can range from very extreme levels of, oh my gosh, did I happen to just run someone over, to did I happen to just copy that entire book from someone and I'm going to be sued by them when they find out? So a variety of that too. And that really played into me having an intense fear of becoming a parent because I was extremely afraid that I would pass that on. And I was really, really terrified about that. So we didn't have Mason for 10 years after we were married. So those things really haunted me for a long time. And I realize now that I have a lot more empathy for people because of that I've gone through and go through. And it's also, I mean, there are some strengths. Like, you want me to hyper focus for the next 18 hours and get a project done? I'm your lady, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not all negative, but I didn't tell anyone for years. And I felt an intense shame around that, around, well, how could I be somebody who's motivating or inspiring and have that, you know? So it was definitely something that made me nervous. And when I shared it, it was the most support I've ever gotten. I mean, not that I care about like this, but it just was interesting. It was like the highest engagement post I ever had. And
how many people hear that kind of thing and think, well, I should probably get checked out if that's because like I'm listening to you say it. I'm like, yep, you're checking all the boxes there.
You probably would know by now. And there's a lot more discussion openly about mental health and all the, I never had an exposure to anyone else, even through adulthood that had what I had. So, now we're living in a world where it's, we're able to and encouraged to talk about different things that are happening, and it's incredible. But it certainly wasn't something that I was ever exposed to. And I grew up with a doctor in the home.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's definitely, I think, plays into a lot of who I am today, and my heart for wanting to help people that feel insecure, that feel less than, that feel the fear of being vulnerable, because ultimately that's what creating content and sharing your perspective is. It's, am I okay with being vulnerable to share my unique personality and my perspective, even if someone disagrees with it? And that's the part where we're always like, ooh, maybe I just won't post this. I don't know about this, right? So it's actually, I do video coaching, but ultimately the foundation of it is self-awareness and self-acceptance and, all of those feeling things that are really hard.
Kind of comes back to the therapy stuff you were talking about.
I should have just been a therapist.
Yeah, you are, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca is someone that I saw on video a long time ago as she was doing her, I guess it wasn't that long. It was like a year and a half ago, maybe a year.
Not even.
Yeah. And I was like, you are really good on video. And she's like, what? Really? I don't really see it. I'm like, no. You're a natural on video. So, but being self-aware, you speak, you've written books, you're always on video. How do you overcome, those imposter syndrome type thoughts and the OCD, like it's not perfect? How do you overcome that stuff and just keep going?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of having some kind of mentorship or coach, or maybe that's a therapist, maybe that's a business coach, maybe that's a mindset coach. And so I have groups that I'm a part of. One of them is a business mastermind, and I consider that something that's actually really good for my mental and emotional health, so that I have a group and a community and a team. And I just told Brian today, I was like, well, I feel like the biggest loser in this group. Like, everybody else is like this big deal. And I'm like, how did they let me in? But that's what we all need to have people lift us up and inspire us. I also have a therapist, which I absolutely adore and love, literally on speed dial. So if I want to, I'm like, but our relationship has to be where I can send you a voice message at any time.
Yeah.
Great, no problem. So I do that, and I do, specific to OCD, I do and will have to forever, something called exposure therapy, which is just absolutely gut wrenching, and is what works for me. I also do affirmations. I'm very routine. Routine is very key for my brain. I like to have a morning affirmations. And one thing that really, really helped me with that affirmation piece is I recorded my voice on my voice notes saying my affirmations. And that was a game changer for me. Hearing me say it to me was a big difference, more so than writing it or reading it or even saying it. So I do have
why?
I don't know.
What's the mindset? Is it like just hearing yourself commit? You just want to produce for that person that you just heard?
No, I think I don't know. It's something about my voice. Like it's like me telling me. It's just, I don't know what it is, but there's something where it really connected with me when I heard my own voice saying it, than when I would just listen to a affirmation that somebody else was recording or whatnot.
Ray has told me I'm not allowed to do anything other than writing it 20 times.
No,
but I'm gonna try recording my own voice.
We did
how that works.
We did that ninja selling, right? And then he was like, you need to write it down. And she was like, what if I just say it? I was like, well, the book says to write it.
No,
so just write
I agree. But see, I agree. Writing, and they've proven this, science. They have proven that when you write, it connects differently in your brain, and that's what I do for my keynotes. So you're probably gonna laugh, but I literally write out like a kid who was like bad in school, you know, and had to write like 1,000 times on the chalkboard. I do that. So I will take sentences and then paragraphs, and I literally have notebooks or legal pads where I write. And
girl, you need that remarkable.
I have that. I have that.
Okay.
But there is something about the paper. I don't know what it is.
You like that? You're very
remarkable
tactile.
Is really good. I love it. But that's how I have to process things, and that's how I help myself remember things. And I don't know if anybody knows about human design, which is like a whole nother show that we could do, but I just recently got into it. It's not about UAPs, don't worry.
I was just to say, I mean, this is getting there. Let's go.
Yeah, it's human design, which my amazing mentor and therapist turned me on to. And it's basically, you know, I'm not going to do a good job of explaining it because I'm a novice, but it's what you were uniquely destined and born to do and whatnot. And it's very interesting, very detailed. There's like 70 different things in your body and whatever that tell you about yourself. Anyway. I started laughing because there's these category titles of what you are. I think there's 5 different kinds. And my thing is, I'm going to manifest it. Done. And I'm big about manifesting. And the design that I got, which is like 8% of the population of the world, is a manifester. I'm like, see, I knew it. Cosmically, I knew it.
Cosmically,
you manifested being a manifester.
That's right.
It was a manifest destiny, if you will.
Yeah, but I think that's part of my positive. That's good. Positive. It's a part of my positive attitude and my energy. And I'm, you know, honored when people say, "Oh my gosh, you're just like how I thought you'd be." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so kind. Thank you." So yeah, that's really like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna manifest it. If I don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out. And let's go.
You're very cool, Chelsea.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and I'm gonna show your Chelsea Peitz Instagram.
He's going to share it eventually.
Yeah, it takes
these days.
Oh my gosh, I was like, going.
Takes a second. Okay, so here's your Instagram. You got almost 60,000 followers. So everybody needs to go follow her. She's Chelsea.Peitz. That's CHELSEA.PEITZ. So go follow her.
Because
get her to 60K.
Chelsea with no dot was taken, if you can believe that.
Chelsea Peitz with no dot?
Yeah.
How dare they?
Who's that? No one. Don't even Google that person. Who knows what you're
right? No.
It's
okay, so I'm looking at this.
Some regular person who's just existing, living their lives.
She's like getting like 100,000 followers, and she has no idea why.
That's where all of my people have gone.
I know I've told Chelsea this before, but the spelling of her last name is forever ingrained in my brain from listening to the Alexa. What were they with flash briefings when they came out?
Yes.
Every morning I would have the Alexa flash briefing
person. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
She would end all of her stuff with her, follow me as Chelsea Peitz says PEITZ. And I was, and so I just heard that every morning for months.
I also
now
say
it's how I hear it.
It's like Old MacDonald. It's EIEIO. Now you won't forget it's PEITZ. And that's how I used to do it. I'd say PEITZ.
Yeah.
It was very radio.
Very radio.
Yeah, it really
was.
It's just That's
Ding,
how I
ding.
hear you saying it, just like that every time.
I need a triangle. That's a great get. I need the triangle.
Yes. No, this is xylophone. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes,
That one. You need
I've
the
got the-
xylophone.
I've got the right answer button.
It's that, well, because it
I do
was
have
back in
that.
the day when there was that big push. Like even Gary Vee like had the little
Mhm.
that was the, what do they call it, the audiogram or whatever. It
Yes.
was-
Yeah.
yeah.
There was the
Big
same
push on
sound
that.
every single
Yeah.
time. And then
Mhm.
they were like, okay, get rid of all intros.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
went totally the opposite direction.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Flash briefings were awesome.
All right. So anyway, I was showing your, before we got into the spelling of your name,
Yeah.
I was showing your Instagram because I asked you a question yesterday on the phone. I was like, what is your favorite color and why is it yellow? And
Well,
and
this
you
is
said
really
something that
chartreuse.
shocked me.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
like neon green yellow. Okay, let's be specific. Yeah.
It's like a highlighter yellow.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a highlighter yellow. But you said
Mhm.
something that shocked me because here you are in a suit coat that is the same
Mhm.
color as this highlighter yellow color.
Mhm.
And then you have pink on, but the pink is over a yellow shirt.
Uh-huh.
You have
Yeah.
a bunch of yellow stuff on your shelf. Your first book was yellow.
Yes.
And I said, what is your favorite color and why is it yellow? And you said,
It's purple.
it's purple.
And you notice that purple is my brand accent color.
Yeah, it's an accent color in your
purple
brand.
and neon chartreuse. Yes.
So this is the reason why I asked that question is because when I think about you, I think of a
Yeah.
smiling face and yellow. That's what I
Yeah.
think of. Yeah, because it's in your background, but also just
Mhm.
because you're so smiling, kind, and you know, that's just the persona that you give off. So whenever you're putting together brand color, brand design, you know, which you did for yourself and you consult on that kind of stuff, what do you think of, or what do you help people think about when they're doing
Mhm.
basically what you did for your Instagram? If they're trying to do that for themselves, what would you tell them?
Yeah, it's really hard because we're back to that. We're too close to our own story. It's hard to think about ourselves, and that's even worse. Like I can think that maybe the worst question somebody could ask is, "What are 3 words that describe you?" And you're like, but like I could think of 3
Oh, hang on.
words
Let me
to
mark that question
Cross
off.
that one
Sorry.
off.
Yeah, cross that one off.
But like I could think of 3 words to describe all of you right now. You know what I mean? It's like when it comes to us. And one tip I'm going to give you, pro tip, is you really should have someone else help you with your brand execution. And we all know the person that helped me. It's Candace Carcio Polo, who formerly was Candace Morales, Elevate with Candace. And, because they have to pull out those stories and that personality. But here's what I did. I love joy. I love rainbows. I love smiley faces. I love, this is a lobster in a turtleneck. I mean, if it's
Wait, hang on.
odd and yeah.
Hold on.
so-
I got a big screen there. A lobster and a turtleneck. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Let me
That's
get- I mean,
phenomenal.
if you ever see one of these, okay, like it's for me. All right, like this. You know
It's
what I
on
did
brand.
find? They have an octopus in a turtleneck, and I need that one, so I don't have that one yet.
So sea
But-
creatures in turtlenecks.
It's like.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you'd
so
get
it's
along great with
crustaceans.
Matt Patillo.
Right.
Patillo is
Yes.
really into the sea creatures, we've learned.
It's crustaceans and there's something, it's like crustaceans and crochet or something. I don't know. I'm always kind of coming up with that. But I have always been drawn to funny, weird things. And I've always been that way. And I didn't realize that it was oozing out of me until people would laugh and say things. I'm like, doesn't everybody do this? So I had to start listening to what people said. And people were like, you remind me of yellow. That is often a color people say. They say, if you were a color, you'd be yellow. And I thought that's so weird. I don't even own anything yellow. And
You do
so
now.
people were like, oh, you're always so happy, or I
Yeah.
feel so much better after I talk to you. And I'm like,
Mm.
oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. Thank you. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to let my self and who I am and what I'm into just like, be a part of it. And so it wasn't with intention. It sort of accidentally happened. And I would say you've got to start with what you love and what brings you joy. And it can be something as simple as that you like to collect something, or you're really into sports, or, you've got some interesting hobby that people are surprised about. And so like for me, another thing that's on brand for me is dogs. And people wouldn't think dogs are a part of a brand, right? But small dogs are very on brand for me. And so it's okay to have the unexpected parts of the brand, but as far as the actual execution and the color tones and the font styles and the pairing of them, I think you need to get out of that because it can be a rabbit hole. Even if you love doing it, it's really one of those things where it's kind of like, I don't know why I'm coming up with this example. You don't want to do plastic surgery on yourself. You probably want to put that in the hands of someone else who knows what you want, who knows the feature of your face, and can have a vision. Yeah.
That outside perspective.
Yeah.
To tell you how you're being perceived.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't cut off
and to know when to stop too.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't. Yeah.
Enough is enough. Yes, absolutely.
That's enough off the nose. You're going to look like Michael Jackson if you keep this up.
So I have a question for Chelsea. So one of the things that I kind of noticed about Chelsea early on, as opposed to other people that were trying to teach the social media stuff, is your approach was, I always say, very cerebral. Like you went kind of deep and learned the science behind it and went that route. Was there a reason, or was that just like super interesting to you? Like you had to know why we were attracted to things, so you just like kind of dug deep? Or, what was it that kind of made you take that approach?
Yeah, I love research. Always have been a researcher, always have enjoyed it, going hours and hours into books. And before we even had the internet, being in the library. So it was always something that really brought me peace. I honestly wonder if it's because it was when my mind would be quiet and I wouldn't be, I wouldn't have the wrestling with the obsessive thoughts. And so I think I really honed into anything that was, educational or made my brain focus. So I've always loved research, and I always learn better when I know the why. And I feel like we're always teaching the hows. And for me, when I know the why, I'm like, oh, I get why we're doing this now. Or if that is the why, well, then maybe this isn't how we should be doing it because of this. And I also found that it was a very helpful way, because I really study human behavior and psychology, when I was able to bring up examples where people were like, oh, yeah, I do that. I'd say, okay, well, if you do that, then why are you doing this? And people would have these aha moments. So it was a helpful way for me to tap into something that people understood and they did and could say, I do that behavior. Oh, now I get it. So it was a passion of mine. I always liked science and research, and specifically human behavior and how to connect with people and all of that. And it just seemed natural. I didn't think of it consciously. It just was my natural way of doing things. And when I made my second book, I wrote that book for me. And so going back to you are uniquely, positioned to help the person you once were. I wanted a book because I wanted it in a specific order that I thought would make sense to me and give me exactly, the information I needed. And then when it was done, I was like, well, I guess I might as well publish it. So, yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Might as well share it with the world.
Might as well. And then never talk about it.
That's a great segue, though, to tell people like, hey, I wrote this book for me. It might also help you.
Yeah, it might also help you. Yeah. I'm super passionate about giving it all away. I believe that, people build trust with you that way. And so you'll get a ton of free content by consuming everything on my Instagram. I have free courses in my link. I have free downloads and free guides. I do have books. You can get them on Amazon. What to Post is on Amazon, and there's also a link in my bio. I do have a podcast, so if you want to listen to several hundred episodes of me chatting about that, you can do that too.
There's What to Post.
Thank you.
Yay.
Love it.
See, look, I've already purchased it. It's funny. Amazon would tell on you if you didn't.
Yeah. You're like, well, I'm logged into my wife's Amazon. Don't worry. I've purchased it.
Yeah, that's right. No, it says I've purchased it. Okay. So the Kindle Unlimited is at $0. So if you're a Kindle Unlimited member, you can go read it.
There you go.
It's a good deal.
So we need the Audible version.
Yeah.
I love
I
Audible.
know.
Read me a book, Chelsea.
But then you know what? Then I'll have to rewrite it.
Yeah, you'll
and
edit it.
it'll be a whole thing. And it's funny that you're mentioning that because I thought to myself today, do I have another book in me? And then I was like, no. So it's funny that you said that because you never know. Like you heard it first. I have no plans to. I actually don't think I have a desire to.
Chelsea,
But
can
it
I
may
give you
have
some?
a desire for me. I don't know.
Chelsea's new book dropping in.
I know
in the spring.
Chelsea's new audio version for
You heard
just
it
in
here
time
first,
for
folks.
Christmas.
Yes.
Chelsea, you've given me incredible advice. There's a couple of things that we're talking about and stuff that I've asked you specifically about, and you're like, oh, you should do it like this. And you always, it's funny because even when you say that you're focused a lot on the theory about the why, I'm very focused on, for myself, like the how, the practical application. And so I spend a lot of time, and Rebecca knows this in our book club. I'll be like, okay, so what do we do with this? Like, here's what he's talking about. How can we apply this? And what's the practical application of this to our business and life? And where does it fit? So saying all that to say, your friend Gary Vee did an audio book that was more like an audio companion to the book and was a standalone value because as he read it, he would edit it. He would talk about something updated or something different all the way through there.
I'm so glad
That would be a really rad way to do that.
That's
and
a good
also
idea.
to work out your thoughts for the second book. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
And those are some of my favorite parts.
Third book for you.
That's the best part of the Audible books. Like from Gary Vee to David Goggins, like when they read and then they pause and tell the side story or, since that happened, this happened. And this is, that would be awesome.
That would be really rad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how publisher deals
consider
work. Did
it.
you
I'll think on
self-publish all
it.
that stuff?
I would buy it.
I did. Yeah. I
You self-published?
both.
Wow.
Yeah. So my third book, if there is a third book, will be a traditional book deal.
Ooh.
I don't even know how a book deal works.
What
does that mean? What does that mean in relation to self-publishing?
She's going to manifest it though.
Yeah.
Yes, basically. So you need a literary agent and you need to have a very short summary and they have to shop it around. So it's quite a process and quite a business, but I don't know anything about it yet.
That's cool. I feel like that commitment would also keep you like in line to just go do it. Well, you don't have a problem with focus because you can sit down and do it. But I have a feeling that if you have other things that are pulling your attention, that kind of becomes an issue. That it is for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
We were in a ski lodge in Park City, and there was 24 people in the room, and Chelsea has her laptop up, and she's like proofing and like reading her book. And like everyone is like going crazy around her networking.
Yeah.
And Chelsea's like laser focused on, no, I got to do this thing with my book.
See, that's the blessing and the curse. I didn't even know you guys were there. I was so like in the zone.
I'm next. I have a great selfie like right next to her, like, hey, Chelsea's proofing her book right now, and Chelsea's like, I don't even know who Rick is.
So
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So that is one of the benefits of my unique brain, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now, after you hyper focus like that, do you feel a crash in the days after, or are you able to just still keep
I
going?
actually feel worse leading up to it than when I actually start it because it becomes very overwhelming for me. Like this keynote that I'm delivering next week is brand new material. I've never delivered it in front of people. And it also has to be TED Talk style, which is the hardest style of speaking you could ever do. Like, I was like, I don't want to start this. It's too much stuff. And like, I know how I am. And I know that I'm going to go down this spiral and I get frustrated. And I have to go through that entire process. And then I will have an aha moment. And it could be 3 weeks. It could be 3 months. And I'll be like, I got it. I know what I want to do, but I can't force it. And I start to try to force it. And so the beginning of the project, and there's another project I'm working on right now that I've been asked not to share publicly yet because it's a kind of a big project and they haven't announced it. And it's actually not in the real estate world. So that's something new. And I was really immediately like, oh God, do they even know who they asked? Like, I don't know anything. What am I doing? And I was like, well, how do I start this? And it was just so overwhelming. So for me, I almost have like a pre-crash where I'm just like, oh no. And I'm like, this is terrible. What did I say yes to? And then once I'm in it, it fuels me. And yeah, no, it's like a pre-crash.
Pre-crash.
Yeah, I get more because I'm very energetically focused. I physically crash after events. So when I speak next week, I will be absolutely like at 12 p.m. that morning I'll be done.
Is it the
I'm
people?
speaking at like 9:30, and yeah, so I'll be done.
Is it the task or the people?
It's
Are you introverted, extroverted? Like,
I'm
is it,
introverted, very
so it's a little
introverted.
bit of the people and the task then.
But I'm a high like energy field, like energy, like I absorb it. And I can walk into a room and immediately feel an energy. That's why I will cry if I can feel somebody's, going through a really rough time. And it's also the energy that I give when I have it written into my contracts that when I speak, it has to be before a certain time of day, because I want to give the highest level of energy and performance to the crowd. And for me to do that, my energy has to be at a certain point. And then, I will totally crash after that. So yeah, it's a very like energetically, type of thing. And when I'm meeting and talking with people, and yeah, it's just, that's just how I've always been. I have to recharge, and that's just part of my DNA.
What is, when you're not on stage, like what is your favorite thing to just unwind? Is it 80s karaoke, or what's
Drinking
the thing that kind of...
It's so terrible. Okay, so I have become sober curious, just to let everyone know. And I have been very curious about, for health reasons. And I think you guys might know this, but in March of this year, I had an explant, and I had, major surgery, and I was on this health quest. And one of the things that I decided to do was explore my relationship with alcohol. And I have to say that I feel so much better and more clear, and I'm a better version of me when I'm not drinking. And so I'm still exploring that. And so I don't remember the last time I've had a glass of wine. It was probably a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going through that. So that's not my favorite way to unwind. It used to be. And I've been exploring why was that for me a way to unwind? And I do miss that. That's the part that I miss. And so I'm struggling through that right now. But for me, my favorite thing on the planet is to have the 3 dogs and the 2 boys, my little one and my medium-sized one, BP, the older one and the younger one, and binge watching in our bed. And we always watch TV in our bed together. We watch a movie. Like last night we bought a zoo. We had the dogs. We have ice cream. Oh. That is literally my favorite thing. And that's what I want to do on the weekends. I don't want to go anywhere. Nice. I don't want to go to a steak place. I don't want to go out and watch a performance. Like I just want to be in the bed and watching a movie with my people in my cocoon, and that's it.
Mason looks like he's about as big as Brian now, isn't he?
He pretty much is, yeah. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got to update your speaker bio, by the way.
Oh yes, I know, because it says a different age. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So it's I'm interested in the sober curious, but I'm not there yet. I think it is interesting.
It was about a good year and a half for me I'd thought about it. I kind of piqued my interest. And then I just wasn't ready. And then there got to a point, what kicked it off was dry January. And I was like, well, I'll try this dry January thing. And it was really hard. It was really hard for me. So that's sort of been my health focus this year. And I mean, I'm, in my mid 40s now. I mean, I got to start taking care of this to live as long as I can and to be clear and creative and have energy. And I feel better than I felt in decades now.
Yeah. That's are you on caffeine at all?
I am, and I keep seeing all these people that are like, I'm going off of caffeine, and I'm like,
I'm not doing that.
No, I'm not doing it. Do that. I'm like, I gave you the alcohol.
I don't even like the way you said that. Why do you say, are you on caffeine? Like it's something, as I sit here, like
it's a
pounding
truck.
like a black rifle.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it definitely is, but I don't.
Was it great that I ate a pint of ice cream last night? Probably not.
Yeah, that's sugar. I mean,
so there's all
wine does have the antioxidants, right?
Hey, what's favorite flavor and favorite brand?
Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. This is
So
controversial.
I'm a big
Yep.
fan of mint chocolate chip as
Oh,
long
no.
as long as the chocolate chips are not chips, but they're like slivers of chocolate. My
Yeah.
current
Okay.
obsession is Jenny's.
Okay.
Very expensive. It's $10 a
That's
Is
thing.
it white or green?
Worth it.
It's green.
Okay.
But it's a lighter green, and because it reminds me of Thrifties back when I was a kid, and they had the cylindrical things. And so I like the jagged chocolate
Mhm.
pieces. So that's probably my favorite. Another one that I really don't eat very often because I am gluten-free as well, and it's called Oat of This Swirled by Ben and Jerry's.
That's a
Oh.
hilarious name.
I'm gonna have to try that one.
Man, it's like oatmeal cookies in
Ooh.
like, oh, so good. And it's very hard to find. And it's one of my faves.
Oat of the swirl.
Have you
Oat.
tried cottage cheese ice cream yet?
Mm.
Okay, so I'm on the cottage cheese kick. And let me tell
Yes.
you, yellow mustard and cottage cheese,
Well,
love
no,
it.
no.
Oh,
I
I haven't
did-
tried that
Are
yet.
you
Ray,
I
serious?
did.
Ray,
Well,
cut this
hello,
off
you
right
gotta
now.
go to TikTok. And I just made
No.
last night, I made cottage cheese cookie dough. And honestly, I think that my maple syrup was bad because it was like glue. But I still
Yeah.
used it. And I was like, how bad could it be? And so it's pretty
Pretty
good.
bad.
I would put more almond into it. And I think I need a higher quality vanilla protein powder.
Mm.
But I'm on the cottage cheese kick. I am here to try the cottage cheese dips, the queso, because I love cheese. And I'm like, okay, if I can get some more protein. So I'm trying it all. And you know what I had for lunch? I had a big bowl of cottage cheese with yellow mustard on it. And it was great. And stirred it up and it was phenomenal.
I can't. Okay.
Rick is so
Chelsea,
over this.
for
He's like,
years,
listen,
you
I
seriously been one of
only
my
tried it
favorite
because
people for a
TikTok
long
made
time.
me.
TikTok
TikTok made
made
me.
me.
So
No.
they're
That seems
the
like a
recipes.
series.
The recipes on TikTok. Don't sleep on the recipes on TikTok.
I feel like
They're
they're jokes though.
viral
I
for
see
a
somebody do one of those
reason.
recipes and it's
TikTok
viral,
made
and
me
I'm
buy
like,
a box of those $140 cookies, and TikTok was not wrong. Those cookies were delicious. But cottage cheese and mustard?
I was like, come on. And then I
We
saw
did
it like
that.
1,000 times. And then you know what I saw? A friend that I followed was eating it. And I'm like, I'm going to try it. I'm just going to try it. And it was so good. I was like, I'm not disappointed. I tried it with Grey Poupon. I didn't like it. Regular yellow mustard.
it's just got to be a yellow mustard. That's so
it can't
interesting.
be
I
fancy
don't know.
mustard.
We actually
try it.
we did that. So my oldest daughter is on TikTok, and so we did it. We did the vegetables with the cottage cheese and the mustard.
Yes, yes.
I was
But you got to
no.
mix it. You got to mix it's
Mm-mm.
got to be fully mixed. Like I don't like it just on top. It has to be like a mix.
Rick's
I
face.
I mean, I might because I respect Chelsea so much. I might give it a second shot. But at the first try, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I was not impressed. Like, didn't add anything to. No.
You didn't do
Yeah.
it right.
Well, maybe,
Yeah, I
don't
do
know.
think
I was
that there has
trusting
something
that
to do with the mixture. I think it's a mixture.
you
It's
had
like
me
a
at the.
cocktail where you may not like just the alcohol on its own, but when you mix it with the mixer, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. I think that's the
Yeah.
key.
See, I'm already way ahead
Yeah.
of you guys with the whole sober thing. I mean, I have a drink occasionally, but I have like 7 bottles of scotch and bourbon that I got through some kind of a chain thing we did, and it's going to be there for years because I just don't
Sounds
drink.
dangerous.
Did you just assume my sobriety, Rick?
No, is that how you look?
I'm a social drinker.
Yeah,
So-
me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Very
100%.
rarely.
Like conventions only, almost it is. It's
Yeah.
like yeah,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
around here I
Yeah.
don't. But cottage cheese, I don't know. It's a texture thing, I think.
Well, occasionally, if it's super hot in the yard and I've been doing stuff in the yard, sometimes it's nice to do that and a slice of pizza.
You were
Cottage
just
cheese or a drink?
drinking on
Mm.
our last
Mm.
podcast.
Not, no,
Episode.
no. I was
was
drinking
beer.
this time.
No,
last time was
like
beer.
a
Last
couple
time.
weeks ago. Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
time was beer. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no,
That was a long day.
I don't know.
That's funny. All right. So is there anything else, Rebecca, Rick, that you want to ask before we let her go?
I was curious about your journey. So I'm kind of new to hearing about you, Chelsea. Our friend Krista introduced me to your content and everything a couple months ago, and I've just been consuming
love
and saving all of it.
Krista.
I know she's great, but I was curious if there was any change in how you were approaching content. And you talk about being yourself, being authentic. Was it always like that from the very beginning, or was that kind of something that evolved as you went?
Yeah, it definitely evolved. I certainly am more authentic and aligned with who I am now. And there was a lot of me that was very afraid of potentially offending, creating an unpopular opinion. So I'm very transparent when I tell people I am 100% human and I have a lot of anxiety. And so I deal with a lot of fears around that. And I'm, continuing to move through them. And one of the things is I don't post on TikTok because I have seen and experienced some not very nice people over there. And should that keep me from doing it? No, this is a whole therapy session I've had with my therapist.
No, get it.
And so I'm slowly getting there. And I love it when people are like, I just don't care anymore. And I have never been there. I'm getting to the point now where I'm just a little bit feeling like that. And it's feeling very freeing. And one of the ways that I got into that mindset is I absolutely do not look at metrics. And that was one of the few ways that I was like, I'm just going to post this. And sometimes I'd even be like, which is, I wouldn't advise. Like if somebody asked me, I probably wouldn't be like, well, here's my best advice. Just think of it as a throwaway post. But I was like, you know what, maybe this will just be a throwaway post. And so then that would help me, post it. But no, absolutely not. All educational content is what I used to do. And I accidentally, I don't even remember what it was, talked about something that was a life thing. And I had more conversations than ever. And I thought, And so I'm working on a piece of content right now that's the 3 things your content needs to do. And a lot of people think it's just they need to learn from you. But I talk about they need to learn about you. They need to learn from you and they need to learn with you, which is the piece that really nobody talks about, which is your journey and where you were and the person you used to be. And that's the scary part. Very few people can dive in right to that. So I've been doing the work internally and on self-awareness and all of that. And so that has absolutely been shown through how my content is now. Because I am a different human than I was 2 years ago or 10 years ago. So yeah, it was definitely an evolution for me.
That's very cool. Even in posting my own content, I've noticed a switch. I do weird stuff like just to test it. Like one of the things I did was I hired a professional photographer to take lifestyle photos of myself.
Yes. Baking.
And the whole intent, you might remember this. I think I said it in my speech.
Yeah.
The whole intent was to prove that it doesn't work. And I was
and it totally worked.
It totally worked. It was so good. It was like the best content. And so I realized recently that I was trying to figure out, I feel like I had so many irons in the fire and I was trying to get a good cadence of posting this and a good cadence of posting this. And I finally just said, forget everything. I don't care about likes right now. I don't care about numbers. I have certain pieces of content that I know people like. I need to get out those certain pieces of content. So I'm only going to focus on one thing. And once I get a cadence for posting that one thing, then I will add one more thing. And so I finally got a couple of them down and I'm slowly just starting to add. So I had a real conversation with my assistant because I'm also doing a lot of deals. So I'm not a creator. I can't just although I am the most Arkansas influencer right now. I just told Chelsea this earlier today. I am now an official Walmart creator. So, yes.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Major brand, right? Good job.
Walmart
Major
influencer.
brand.
I
right
didn't
here.
know that Walmart had influencers.
Well,
They do now.
Here I
Maybe
am.
just in Arkansas.
Yeah, it is the HQ.
It's
I don't
just
really
the
know.
local
Is it
store.
really?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Walmart is a big deal in Arkansas.
It's a huge
Absolutely.
deal. So yeah. So anyway, I can't even remember the train of thought I was on this.
Sorry.
No, it's just a weird thing now. But it has really kind of changed in focusing and mastering one thing and then doing the other thing. Oh yeah, I was talking to my assistant about it. I was like, are we fine with how it's going? Are we this is an easy system and an easy process to maintain that I can create this content and give it to you and you can schedule it out. Because that was my hard part was it wasn't creating the content. It was the distribution. It was actually sitting down to post it and then that's the part I hated. I was done. I was done with the content. I made it. So I'm done with it. Now I want somebody to go do it for me. So I think, and some people are the opposite way. It takes a lot for them to make. So but they're great at posting and having that cadence. It just comes natural to them. So I just think wherever you have that weakness, accept it as a weakness and get some help there. Like just like I have an assistant that helps me do that one thing. That's all they do. So then that's fine. It's great for me. All right. Sorry, I
It sounds
dominated.
so easy. Just hire it out.
Just hire it out.
Just be better.
Chelsea, there's a lot of ways that people can connect with you. You have a podcast. Will you say the name of the podcast one more time so that people can hear it?
Yes, I know it's going to be hard to find. It's the Chelsea Peitz podcast.
It depends on how you spell Peitz.
Yes, and you can find me where all fine podcasts are sold. And the best place to connect with me is Instagram. That's where I spend the majority of my time, and I'm on all the socials, but Instagram is my favorite place. And you can certainly send me a DM and let me know you came from the show and that you're like, I also like to collect crustaceans in turtlenecks.
In turtlenecks.
Absolutely.
Do you have a turtle in a turtleneck?
No, because
That
that's
seems
not a crustacean, is it?
No.
Is it? No,
I
I
just
don't
figured it's a
think
turtleneck. Maybe it's
Maybe it's just sea creatures, but yeah, it could be. Maybe it's sea creatures.
sea creatures and turtlenecks.
Yeah, because the octopus isn't really a crustacean.
He's not.
either.
That's not a crustacean either.
yeah.
Yeah, there's someone on Etsy that's going to town right now doing that.
Right.
Assuming that they're listening to our show. Of course, everyone listens to the show.
Chelsea, is Gray Shirt going to make a comeback?
You know, gray shirt. I've turned it into to Golden Girls nightgown. Nightgown is the new thing where I am just obsessed. I'm living my best Grandpa Joe life, never leaving my bed. And I have no shame. It is a long, basically a duvet is what it is, and it's got armholes, and it's phenomenal. And my husband is like, "What are you wearing?" And I'm like, "It is
Is it
so
like a
comfortable."
Snuggie?
It's like bamboo and so comfortable. And I'm like, I'm literally never going back. I will only wear a nightgown, and it's like down to like my calves, and it's wonderful. And people are like, don't you get wrapped up in it? I mean, these are the DM conversations I have.
Yeah,
Do you get wrapped up in it? And I go, no, I don't know if it's the bamboo material, but it doesn't seem to wrap up. But
Do you
yeah,
have an affiliate link for this? You need to affiliate link.
Right. I go through
I want
phases.
one.
I had Gray Shirt for a while. I had Alien Plant for a while. Now I'm on the nightgown, the Golden Girls nightgown. And so there'll be something new, but it's always something that's cycling through. But yeah, for now it's the nightgown. And
We're evolving. We're not going back.
we're evolving. And somebody was like, you should do. I go, I'm cooking with the nightgown again. And somebody's like, let's make a show, noshing with the nightgown. I'm like, see, this is the whole thing. The whole thing. Yeah.
You got that Glenda Baker alliteration in there.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to
you.
join us.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, like I said earlier, you're someone that I felt like an instant connection and kindred spirit. So I love having you as a friend, and I love seeing what you do to help impact and affect other people's lives. So thank you for
Thanks
smiling.
having me.
Yes, Chelsea. It was good seeing you again.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I really appreciate you. See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yay,
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
She's long been one of my favorites.
I know
Seriously,
she told me she knew you when I was telling her about the show and everything. She was like, "Oh, I know him. This is going to be fun." I was like,
Yeah. Well, you know how she was saying, like when she goes to these places, like she's like, "How did I get in this room?" Like when I was out there at that place in Park City, I was seriously like, "Oh shit!" Like I'm way out of my depth. Like how did I get in here? Because it was like Dustin Brome, who has a crazy successful podcast, and Neil Mathwick, who's a coach, and Shannon Milligan, who's like a crazy rock star agent, and then Chelsea was there, and she's. Like I said, she's editing her first book. I'm like, holy shit! Like, there's an author here. Like,
That's
what
pretty
the hell am I
rad.
doing
Yeah.
in this room? And then we just maintained that friendship relationship. And then, God, that's got to be at least 7 years ago.
yeah.
So yeah, I see her at conferences and stuff all the time. A little
She's-
jealous that you got her on the show. She's definitely on my list.
I know you just got to start crossing off people now that we all
damn
know
it.
together.
Right.
Yeah,
She was actually one that I thought about reaching out to, even though we've never had a conversation. I was just like, well, we'll see. Maybe I'll ask, see what happens.
She's super awesome. Love
yeah, she
Chelsea.
probably would have done it too. Like she's very approachable. And one of the things that I love about her is that even as popular as she is and as in demand as her time is, she's super approachable. She'll make time for people if she feels like it's something that's going to make a difference. And she's not one that's like, talk to my assistant. She's not that type of popular, although she could be. She has every right to be in the position she's in and the demand for her time. She totally could be that, but she's just not. She's just very approachable.
When she says reach on Instagram, like it's definitely going to be her. It's not somebody
she will
responding
reply.
for her.
I don't know if she has auto DMs turned on, but that would be bad if we say that. And then she's like, thank you for reaching out.
Don't
that
hold us to this,
I know. As of the recording.
which we haven't actually verified.
That's right.
Yeah. Now she's in business with Giselle.
Yeah, they have the
Okay.
talent brokerage.
Yeah.
So the talent brokerage is it's not a real estate brokerage, but is a real estate focused speaking bureau, I guess you could say.
Oh,
So they have speakers that, if you have let's say you got a big bank meeting conference coming up and you want a real estate agent to talk to how they relate to loan officers, you can go to the talent brokerage and book yourself somebody that kind of has that in their bio or expertise or something
Do we
like
know
that.
anybody that's part of the talent brokerage?
Yeah, you happen to.
Wait, Ray, you're part of that,
Ray's
aren't you?
part
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like, I have heard this name before, and I feel like
Yeah.
it was connected with Ray.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Giselle is the one that Giselle and Chelsea. I don't know if one of them made it up and approached the other or what, but they're both kind of running the show over there. So I think it's Giselle's
Cool.
and Chelsea's baby. But
Yeah.
they're doing really well. They got a lot of people booked at Inman this next week, and so they're gonna have a time.
Yeah.
I know the first time I heard Chelsea speak was at Video Blueprint this
Mhm.
past
Mm.
April.
Yeah.
And obviously, I didn't know very much about her yet because I've just recently been introduced. And her story of everything, it really resonated with me. And just like her approach to content creation. So that's why I keep saving all of her stuff because I'm like, yes, I need all of this.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
Well,
forgot
and
she
you-
was at Video Blueprint, but yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing about her too that is, seeing as I've been following her for so long, is she's very much like a Gary Vee type, where her message hasn't really changed. Like it's consistent. It's not like she just follows the fads or the trends. I mean, her message has been very consistent across the years. These strategies may change here and there, but the behind the scenes is very much the same. So I love that about her.
The
Yeah,
being
very true.
authentic.
Yeah, totally.
yeah, authenticity is huge with her. Authenticity and consistent.
Do you guys
Yeah.
feel like you're self-aware?
I don't know.
Yeah, I do. But you know what? What she said about her brand, like reaching out to Candace, like I would love to do that. Have someone else like do the brand just to see how far off I am.
Yeah.
Just to see how self-aware
Like,
I
am I actually self-aware?
Because you don't
Yeah,
know,
that's
right?
good.
Because half the
Yeah.
time, coaches will tell you, well, ask your friends what, and they just tell you what you want to hear anyways. So you need that objective third party who's being paid to be honest,
Yeah.
not your buddy who's just trying not to piss you off. So yeah,
Well, even,
yes.
if you just hire a regular marketing company, they're going to try to think of something that you would like. And it's not necessarily going to be something that's most representative of your brand that the consumers will like. And I think that's a real gap in something like what Candace does versus what some of these other outfits do. So that, I don't know, self-aware, that's, by saying yes, am I no longer going to find things? I think I am. But as she was talking about being OCD, I'm literally like checking boxes, like going, oh, I do that. I do that. I do that. I do that. So, and I know I've kind of had this mild case of OCD because I can't go to bed without relocking my cars and without relocking all the doors and going checking. Like I have a certain pattern of behavior that I do. And if I don't do that, I will lay down and not be able to sleep and literally have to get up and then go through that pattern and then I can go to sleep.
That might just be anxiety.
I have a completion.
Could be.
thing.
See, there's so many things that could be, but there is this weird focus that my parents have always talked about, where they would say that I could hone in and focus on one thing for so long that they would say stuff to me, and it got to a point when I was in high school where they would like touch me and get my attention and then talk to me, because like in the AP class, I was just talking about this yesterday, The Invisible Man. Do you remember that book? It was about an African American in the South, and being invisible, and really good book. It's like required. Y'all should read that book. It's required reading. Everyone needs to read that book. It's a good book.
Okay. I've never heard of it before, so it's not like I've
not the movie
chosen
with
not
Kevin
to
Bacon.
read it.
No, it's not the Kevin Bacon movie. It's not the superhero. It's called The Invisible Man. It's an old read. Anyway, it's a really good story. And I read it in a day. It's like 600 or 700 pages. In high school, I just read it and then I wrote the report. But the only way I could do that is by like focusing intently on that one thing. And so I can do that. And then I have this OCD, these little OCD tactics that I just have worked around for years and years. So as she was talking about that, I'm like, I thought I was self-aware, but maybe I don't know what it's called, but I feel like there's so many things that it could be that I don't,
Well,
is
I
it
keep telling
ADHD?
you might be
Is it OCD?
ADHD. Yeah. And the thing with like the neurodivergent stuff is that a lot of it does overlap in one way or another.
Yeah.
And so it's just
Yeah, which
I don't know if I have OCD, but I have an issue with like not finishing things. Like my wife drives me crazy. Like when she's in a car, she'll start a song, get halfway through, and just switch it. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then like at night when we're watching TV on the couch, like we'll be watching a movie or a show, and she picks the movie.
falls
And then
asleep.
20 minutes in, no, doesn't fall asleep. 20 minutes in, she's like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm
You
like,
have to finish the movie.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like you're, and I don't know how she does it. Like I have to.
You're a
the other-
completionist.
The other night I was up and I started watching Top Gun, the new Top Gun, and I forgot how long that movie was. So it's like it's getting close to 1:00 in the morning, and like they're just leaving on the final mission. I'm like, oh shit! Like I'm not going to get to bed.
It was 2x this thing.
And I just don't know. Yeah, I did. I started fast forwarding through some little parts to try to get to the end, so I could see the end, so I could go to bed and actually rest. So I don't know
That's
what
so
that
funny.
is, but I definitely have something.
Yeah, you're messed up. No.
Out of all of us,
Yeah,
you
that's
got
terrible.
the worst,
Yeah.
Rick.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
There's a whole bunch of people that are the opposite. When you said I have a problem completing things, I thought that meant that like everywhere you looked were unfinished things. Because
Yeah, that's where.
that's the other side of it.
Oh, but it's only certain things, you know. I think it's from a kid, like when like I think I was one of those kids, like old school kids, where it's like you couldn't leave the table until your plate was clean, and then it just flowed over to I don't know, I have a hard time now if it's a task, like if I have to do laundry, I have no problem walking away halfway through laundry. That's easy.
That's hilarious. I'm one of those. If I take on a project, I'll do that project until it's done. Even if somewhere in the project it starts to become a detriment, I will finish the project. So there was a project. This house, it's a project. I wanted to remodel the home. And we bought it. Kid was like, oh, this home is perfect. We just have to change everything. It's like, okay, we can do that. So we bought it. We began changing it. I emptied it out. There's not a square inch of this house I haven't touched. But what would happen was we would want to change something in this area. And then we'd find something else behind that. And then we find something else behind that. And you could say it never ends. But my brain is like, no, it'll end. And I just keep going and keep going and keep going. Before you know it, it's like we're replacing electrical. We're replacing, so in the yard, for instance, I was doing this big yard project about leveling, and you never really understand how out of level your yard is until you start leveling it and leveling it. And you're like, this is like a lot of dirt.
Does a yard need to be leveled?
Yeah. You got to have certain like, if you
puddling
want
and flooding and
water management is a big deal in Arkansas, but there's also like, we want up here on this hill to be like a secret garden thing, and it kind of needs to be leveled off. And this,
Okay, gotcha.
so yeah, there's landscaping, I guess you could say, but I will continue to attempt to do this until it's no longer profitable, until it's not helpful, but it's a task that I started and I will finish it. But it's not, but at the same time, I will have an uncompleted thing like this bookshelf that's supposed to be right here that's not done, and it's blacked out because I have it covered up and it's just a sack of books. It's supposed to be done, but I'm also super frugal. And when I got the quote back, the prices on lumber had like tripled or quadrupled. And so now I'm waiting on the lumber to go back down. So I'm also that problem. I'm cheap. So I don't know. I think what I find interesting, I guess is the reason why I'm rambling about everything that's wrong with me. I'm
a messed up one, right?
Yeah.
You're showing how self-aware you are.
I mean, where I'm rambling about everything that's wrong with me, but I'm nowhere near as bad as Rick. But what I find is interesting is that Chelsea would tell you that those are not things that are wrong with you. Those are things that make you unique. And those are the things that in a lot of ways you should start accentuating.
Right.
And
Because
that's
those are
hard
the things
to get
that
over.
people will connect with, right? Because everybody has some of those. Well, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that have those same idiosyncrasies and issues. And
Well, the
maybe not to my
analytics-
extent, but
The analytics will tell us if people connected with that or if they just turned us off early.
But apparently, we're not supposed to
Oh,
be
yeah.
checking.
Yeah, we will
metrics
check
and
that.
analytics.
Not for a
Right.
long time.
I was surprised to hear that she doesn't
Yeah.
check her metrics.
No.
Because
when
that's
you get 60,000
makes
followers and you're
sense.
Chelsea, you probably don't have to worry about it.
That's
Well,
true.
I think they say like you need 100 videos on YouTube, and you need a lot of content out there so that that what you're measuring is accurate. Because for a long time, all of the social medias or in any of the platforms are just going to be throwing your content up against the wall and see who it sticks to. And so whenever you first release a video on a new YouTube channel, you may get a really low click-through rate, but that's because they're spreading it around so much. So should you pay attention only to click-through rate? Maybe not. So that's the That's the hard part, is gathering enough data. And I was talking to Christina Smallhorn a couple of weeks ago. Or was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
I didn't see it.
She said you
but-
needed to have 100,000 views before you could start to measure your content.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you don't have 100,000 views on your YouTube channel, then the analytics you're looking at
Are
could be
pointless.
wildly inaccurate because YouTube's still trying to find your audience.
Yeah, YouTube still doesn't even know. When I tried to look at mine, they're like, "Yeah, we don't have enough data."
Yeah, precisely.
But that's kind of freeing to be like, okay, don't even bother looking at this
Yeah.
stuff as you're starting out because it doesn't really matter. And I think that allows you to probably be more in touch with who you are and just put it all out there and see what happens versus trying to change so much or be a certain way right from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I know that's something that's what I struggle with is I had my personal Instagram and I would just be whoever I was because that's my friends, my family. Who cares? Maybe there might be some real estate stuff sprinkled in there, but then on my business page, it's real estate, those canned posts. And it
Do you
just,
still have both?
I do. I just don't post on my personal because I put all my energy into my business one. And it's now more of a mixture of my personal and showing
Yeah.
who I actually am.
So
and
people relate with you
being
better.
okay. Exactly. But it's
Yeah.
like I had to get over that hump of being okay with showing people the real me and not the perfect professional, got it all together, real estate expert and all the things that you think you're supposed to be.
Yeah, nobody likes that person, anyways.
No. Well, and it's not real.
Mhm.
And so because it sucks the energy out trying to come up with content that's perfect, I just wouldn't post.
Yeah, true.
So now that I've freed myself, I can show up and post pictures of me eating all the
Right?
time. But
Or do a whole podcast.
or do a whole podcast
Do a whole
eating.
podcast.
Here's my failed banana bread recipe.
Well, I can't wait till the next one. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
see you
Love to
guys
see who brings a guest next time.
then.
Then.
Bye.
Bye, guys.